LGB. 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 LGB.
They say LGB everywhere I go. LGB. What it means, I don't know. LGB. Whatever it is. LGB. Kamala, help me, please. Please.
Alrighty then.
Thank you. LGB.
That's let's go, Brandon, right?
LGB. This means let's go, Brandon. Go. LGB.
Sounds like let's go, Brandon, I guess.
LGB. All right. Let's go, Brandon.
I am Cornholio.
Chant LGB. Right wing and left wing. LGB. Go, you know the thing. LGB. If you don't sing that back. LGB. And you ain't black. LGB. Let's go, Brandon. LGB.
Let's go, Brandon.
LGB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB. Let's go, Brandon.
I'm Joe Biden, and I forgot this message.
Greetings, my dear friends, and welcome to another episode of Reading Epic Threads. I'm your host, Patrick Gunnels, joining you from Houston, Texas, this January 9th, 2024 at 9:34 a.m. Central Standard Time. And now I'm trying to figure out, am I blurry because I've told this thing to touch up my appearance? Yep. So blurry Patrick. Yeah, blurry Patrick is younger Patrick. So I'll be a little bit blurry for you today because I look younger, and I don't want to say I'm gonna have my appearance be touched up. At least my webcam isn't malfunctioning. That's the most important thing. Thank you everybody for being here. And today we are going to be doing a Martin Geddes and an Erik Carlson. Before we do any of that, don't forget to get your angel paste. The regular unscented is available. We have plenty of it right here, and we are shipping it out. For those of you who prefer not to have a scent, we have a limited supply remaining, a limited inventory remaining of vanilla angel paste. Now, angel paste in general is the best lotion the world has ever known. It consists only of food-grade plant oils invented by my sister Barbara and manufactured by her at her home in Spring, Texas. Originally, she made it as a way of minimizing scarring after cosmetic surgery, but the main thing she was looking for was stuff you can put on your skin that has no toxins in it. That's really, really hard to find. She had to make it herself. Food-grade plant oils, nothing else, only things that come directly from God and extracted from plants using purely non-chemical cold processes. And the results are amazing. And now, for a limited time, you can get vanilla angel paste, which contains 17 drops of the purest organic vanilla essential oil. In addition to the delicious scent, also has anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Your skin will drink it up. Go to angelpaste.com, use promo code Shapiro to pry $1 from my grasping hands. And if you get 3 or more bottles, you get free shipping. Angel paste, your skin will drink it up. All right, let's begin, mes amis. I'm working out the details about going to have a media booth at CPAC for epicthreads.tv. Speaking of which, check out epicthreads.tv. We're working on international shipping for angel paste. You can get the unscented internationally. I don't know which countries are supported, but I'm 99% certain about Canada and the UK. Almost certainly Australia. Pretty much the English-speaking world. I think we're good. First world English-speaking world, I think would be a good way to describe it. Like probably New Zealand. I don't know if we've got the shipping settings set right, though. So if I end up reaching out to you and saying it didn't charge enough for shipping and I need you to give me more money, then I apologize for that because I've already had to do that once. But anyway, let us go ahead and begin with today's show entitled Letter to the Minister for Culture, Media, and Sport by our friend Martin Geddes. From newsletter.martingeddes.com, Letter to the Minister for Culture, Media, and Sport. Always go straight to the top if you want to get anything to happen by Martin Geddes. As part of my campaign to expose the TV licensing identity fraud scandal, link in the article, I have drafted the following letter for the Minister of Culture, Media, and Sport. It is better for me to share it as a draft before sending so my readers can tell me if I've missed anything important. My plan is to print and post it tomorrow. The Right Honourable Lucy Fraser, KCMP, Department for Culture, Media and Sport, 100 Parliament Street, London, SW1A2BQ. Dear Ms. Fraser, I would like to draw your attention to evidence of a criminal identity fraud involving the BBC and Capita with respect to the TV licensing trademark. While superficially obscure, it has the potential to unravel the entire fiscal underpinnings of the UK's primary public broadcaster and bring the regulatory system into disrepute. The fraud is that the trading name TV licensing is presented to the public as a legal person when it is not. For instance, on the tvlicensing.co.uk website, it says, quote, copyright TV licensing, but a trademark cannot own a copyright. Given the sophistication of the institutions involved, this cannot be an accident. Given the sophistication of the institutions involved, okay, I just read the same sentence twice. Let's regroup here. For your convenience, I have included a screenshot below that was taken today so you can check this example for yourself. All right, let's see if we could find it on here just to make sure. TV licensing, there it is. Your TV license online. Copyright 2024 TV licensing. All right. This conversion of a trademark into a chameleon-like legal person allows the BBC to receive the revenue assets while the legal liabilities go to Capita. I am a victim of this fraud, having sued TV licensing only to have Capita usurp the case as an interloper with no standing. My personal case is not why I am writing to you, other than it has established the existence of the fraud and at least one individual negatively affected. What matters in your capacity as Secretary of State for Culture, Media, and Sport is the wider risk that exposure of this scandal brings to the parties involved, including your own department's reputation as well as to Ofcom's standing. As Lord Denning famously stated, fraud unravels everything. The potential scope of everything is alarmingly large here in policy terms. Consider for a moment that correspondence is being sent to the public under the brand TV licensing, bearing no legal person on it whatsoever, and that who you interact with changes between the BBC and Capita at their whim. Further, consider that the BBC asks checks to be payable to TV licensing, which is not a legal person, and direct debit mandates have no fixed legal person attached. The consequence is that, one, every direct debit could be refunded and revoked on the basis that there is no legal person TV licensing and that the parties involved were committing identity fraud. Two, every check to TV licensing that is cashed is a fraudulent instrument as no legal person is being presented to the public. And third, every single conviction for TV license evasion is potentially unsound since no legal person ever appeared on correspondence and the prosecuting parties had unclean hands. It is not my job as a member of the public to qualify these risks, but they clearly merit investigation. My opinion is that the only possible purpose of presenting a trademark as a legal person is to deceive. It is reasonable to presume that this has been approved of at the highest levels of the BBC and Capita. At some point, a prosecution for license evasion will be challenged on this basis and case law precedent set. If the paperwork about this fraud from my case would assist your civil servants, then I am happy to pass it on to save effort. I believe that this effective liability shield that the BBC has constructed is against the public interest, not least because it rests on a deceptive commercial practice. I suggest that you write to the BBC's chairman to ask why they are acting in this unlawful way. Yours faithfully, Martin Geddes. Oh, what a tangled web we weave. I wonder if capita are ruining the day they decided to apply to set aside my default judgment against TV licensing. It doesn't really matter how my court case goes. The facts of the fraud have now been established. Next up is to check who owns the bank account that checks paid to TV licensing get paid into. If it is capita, then I would say that's a flat-out commercial fraud. It can be lawful for a subcontractor to be authorized to handle financial transactions, but not when there is no disclosure and the legal identity of who you are dealing with is being deliberately obfuscated. When TV licensing is presented as a legal person and it is not a legal person, a reasonable person would judge that they are paying the licensing authority that owns the brand. A Freedom of Information request is going to the BBC today. And that's the latest from the wonderful Martin Geddes. Go to newsletter.martingeddes.com/support. Toss some shekels. This is what he does for a living. He has been drummed out of the worldwide telecommunications industry, of which he was a luminary. Why? Because he cared about the truth. martingeddes.com. All right. Next piece. And don't forget to go to Angel Paste, guys. We've still got... How many? Let me just check. We've already sold a third of the second batch. And that's without me advertising on the Devolution Power Hour. So get your Angel Paste, specifically vanilla Angel Paste. All right, let's do another from Martin Geddes. Oops. From newsletter.martingeddes.com, 2024 is the final battle to love yourself. The war is as much against our own demons as worldly wickedness. By Martin Geddes. Many things happened in 2023, but also much did not transpire. We did not see the full takedown of the criminal mass media. We didn't see military tribunals for war crimes on TV. We didn't see the full public exposure of the COVID genocide. We didn't get relief from usury and taxation. We didn't get justice for the 2020 election heist. We didn't enjoy liberation from the toll of war. We didn't see our persecutors face punishment. We didn't find reunification with those who lost to mind control. Those historic milestones await us still. That said, a lot of tangible progress did happen. There is a clarity of the battlefield situation like never before, with ever more people aware of an occult conflict. The general outline of a vast covert war is obvious to anyone with the eyes to see and ears to hear. As one friend recounted to me last night, it is everything but kinetic, with evidence of active combat on endless fronts. We are coming to understand how deeply entrenched and deadly our enemy is, and that this war's scope is almost beyond our imagination. Our experience of confronting its deceptive and iniquitous gatekeepers and enforcers keeps growing. There is constant distress as we hear more of the death and injury toll, especially from gene therapy and nanotech assaults. We live under nonstop uncertainty about what poisons are being thrown on, at, and into us. The barbaric propaganda continues to rip psyches apart. AI, applied to search and social media, seems to be the new machine gun, shredding minds with lies that pass right through our protective conscience. Scalar and direct energy weapons threaten our homes, coasts, and cities. Fresh bioweapons loom in the background. More and longer lockdowns are mooted. A financial collapse and reset looks close. Information control ramps up again. These things are not easy to confront. There are times when I have had to lie down for hours and watch each worry arise, only to dismiss it and return to my breathing. Many of us are fighting internal battles to maintain the will to persevere and prevail. These struggles are incomprehensible to our close friends and loved ones who do not perceive the silent war. On good days, I am fully present and able to take on the world. On bad days, I am a wreck that has to rest and wait for it to pass. The energy to write essays like this waxes and wanes. Given all that you and I have been through, this is understandable. The chronic pain of this war is less in the mind or body and almost feels as if it sits in our souls. The deceptions keep on splitting our world into fractures and fragments, inhibiting our efforts to reconcile everything into a single solidified reality. The example that comes to mind is sitting in a friend's house where the radio is on constantly. I can deconstruct all manipulations that keep those I care about trapped in a low vibe. It is like an overhead cost of being exposed to the worldly, a debt you carry for merely existing in a fallen world. The spiritual attack is subtle, cunning, and camouflaged. But once you see it, there is no choice but to be aware. The longer this goes on, the more of my effort that goes on in my mental and physical health, and the less on external pushback against the corrupt and criminal. To better look after myself, I have made some changes in my own life. My home in the north of England is a sanctuary of sobriety and good behavior, even if I have not always maintained that high standard in all contexts. I continue my practice of daily walks with a camera when I wish to bring one, and staying in a creative and grateful headspace. This gives me relief from the stress of being immersed in nonstop malfeasance by public officials, which sucks out my life force. I have found physical health easier to prioritize than mental health, as the routines are more concrete and easily executed. I drink filtered water, I make superfood breakfasts, I eschew all seed oils, I cook with healthy fats, I eat more nutrient-dense meats, I buy the best organic food when I can. I've stopped buying most processed snacks. I sleep as long as I need to. I cook from simple ingredients. I juice up fruit and vegetables, but without too many oxalates. I take a few judiciously chosen supplements. I even don't wear brain-frying earbuds so much as before. These small acts reinforce my own commitment to continue to care for my well-being. Even the habit of refilling the water filter has spiritual and mental benefits, reaffirming my own worth. Meanwhile, the sapping dramas in life mainly seem to come from unwise choices of company. The most effective lever of control for an easier life: to dissociate from those that want to suck you down and only seek companionship to their own misery. Even when in good company with benevolent intentions, not everyone recognizes the impact they have on you, which is unfortunate. As an introvert, I need a lot of time alone, yet without becoming isolated. There are many old associates I don't hang out with, not because I have any beef with them, but because being in the vicinity of their pride or ignorance doesn't serve my self-preservation. I am stronger for my experience, but also wounded from years of psychological war. They cannot yet respect my real trauma injuries. There is a very obvious cultural shift going on right now, with lots of people reducing or eliminating their alcohol and drug use, going to the gym to maintain their body without fetishizing muscle mass, eliminating pharma from their life whenever possible, returning to simple foods and home gardens, ending their dependence on luxury goods or foreign jaunts for meaning, choosing to invest in a select local communities and activities, and rejecting all of the fabricated entertainments and distractions we previously embraced. It is a long process of detoxification from a culture and society constructed to harvest us and harm us. It cannot happen quickly. We are constantly torn between physically operating in the old world while mentally inhabiting a new one and spiritually searching for whatever is above it all. There is a tremendous sadness and grief on the one hand as we come to realize what history has been hidden, what wonders have been withheld from us, and what terrors have been inflicted upon us. This is not the place to speculate, but the truth about humanity's past and predicament does appear literally unbelievable. But that's our policy choice, not a constraint on reality. Meanwhile, we live in the hope of a better future, yet not entirely certain if we have truly discerned the revelatory harlot from the beast in our optimism. The year ahead looks crazy and chaotic in ways we have never experienced before, no matter how mad 2020 was. This is of a different order. The shift from fraud to force as the old guard lose their grip means we likely face destruction on multiple axes, while every outcome has been prepared for and mitigated to the maximum extent. The path to mass awakening and collective freedom is strewn with danger, and that is how it is. All we can control is our own internal state and reaction with some influence over our immediate environment. The war of 2024 is firstly to be concerned for our own well-being in an appropriately loving way. Be ready to value and protect yourself at all costs, as if still a child. For, in a sense, we all are, no matter what age. And that is newsletter.martingeddes.com, newsletter.martingeddes.com. So go to martingeddes.com/support, by the way. He is a luminary, guys, and he does this purely as his only means of compensation and income. All right, everybody, don't forget to go get your Vanilla Angel Paste. Not many left. 17 drops of gorgeous, delicious, antioxidizing and anti-inflammatory vanilla essential oil, and only food-grade plant oils. Go to angelpaste.com. Use promo code Shapiro to pry $1 from my grasping hands. If you get 3 or more bottles, you get free shipping. Your skin will drink it up. Also, check out epicthreads.tv. We're working on it. Okay. Finally, Erik Carlson. And then I begin packing for GART 3. Where are you at, Erik Carlson? Come on, it's here. It has to be here. I'm sorry, I'm losing my mind. There it is. Who's the U-boat commander? Okay. Final piece. From badlands.substack.com. Who's the U-boat commander? Ghislaine Maxwell, of course, by Erik Carlson. If you grew up in the 1980s, you might recognize the title from a line in the 1983 Tom Cruise movie Risky Business. Cruise's character, a hardworking and responsible high school senior named Joel Goodson, obviously a take on The Good Son, is left home alone in his family's Chicago suburban upper-middle-class home while his parents go on vacation for a week. Sounds a little like Macaulay Culkin's Home Alone, except in this case, Joel Goodson was intentionally left at home alone. With his temporary independence and through the bad influence of a high school friend, Joel's life quickly goes off the rails. He sleeps with a prostitute in his family's house. He discovers his mother's expensive crystal egg is stolen, and in the process of getting it back, he is stalked by Guido, the killer pimp, resulting in his dad's prize Porsche ending up at the bottom of Lake Michigan. To raise the money to fix the damages to the Porsche, Joel decides to bring in a bunch of his new prostitute girlfriend's colleagues to create a pop-up brothel at his parents' house while they're still away. Needless to say, things don't go according to plan. The whole situation kind of reminds me of a young Jeffrey Epstein and his gal pal Ghislaine Maxwell, minus the blackmailing of powerful people, of course. And I should probably point out that I don't believe Maxwell was Epstein's sidekick. I believe she was, in fact, his handler. Robert Maxwell, Gillen's father, was a former member of the British Parliament and military and is believed to have worked with the Mossad, Israel's version of the CIA. I believe Gillen, also British, worked in a similar role as her dad for Mossad. I believe Epstein was likely an oversexed pervert who wanted to be rich, seem important, and have the ability to pursue his perversions unimpeded. This arrangement was a perfect fit. I believe Jeffrey Epstein was the face of the blackmail operation. He was used to lure people in. The targets were U.S. politicians, CEOs, influential members of the media, and scientists. U.S. politicians were blackmailed to control the U.S. government, control policies, where tax dollars go, and which foreign entities they go to. CEOs have the money and the media controls the narrative, but what about the scientists? If you control the scientists, you control science. If you control the science, you control the climate change hoax. Is it a coincidence that climate change as a concept went into high gear around the time Epstein's blackmail operation began? Oh, and who was the face of climate change at the time? That's right, Al Gore, Bill Clinton's vice president, both allegedly connected to Epstein. Again, coincidence? Ghislaine Maxwell has been sold to us as Epstein's girlfriend, who later became just a friend, who happened to procure underage girls to satisfy his insatiable needs and perversions. Most people are probably now more willing to accept that she was much more involved and in charge of the blackmail operation than was once believed. I find that there are too many connections between Jeffrey Epstein, Israeli leaders, and other Jewish billionaire businessmen to refuse to explore the possibility that he and his operation were working with Mossad and other intelligence agencies, blackmailing people of power and influence. Israel has received a lot of financial and military support from the U.S. and from Americans. Over the years, have U.S. politicians and powerful Americans been blackmailed into supporting these aspects of Israel? As the Epstein list comes out, we will hear of things we've known for a while now. We will learn some new names, and we will be subjected to some disinformation as well. Then, if some of the information is fake, then how can we trust any of it? Needless to say, the 48-hour rule will be in effect. Ghislaine Maxwell, helicopter and submarine pilot. Does anyone else think it's strange that this socialite was a licensed helicopter and submarine pilot? It seems kind of out of place. Why would a rich party girl who hobnobs with the world's elite be licensed to fly a helicopter and pilot a submarine? Weird. In 1998, Jeffrey Epstein bought Little St. James Island, now more popularly known as Epstein Island. 10 years later, he pled guilty in Florida to procuring a child for prostitution and of soliciting a prostitute. Federal officials had identified 36 girls, some as young as 14 years old, whom Epstein had allegedly sexually abused, but he cut a sweetheart of a deal, which allowed him to move about freely during the day with the stipulation that he had to sleep in a minimum security, unlocked jail cell each night of his sentence. He served 13 months. Around the time Epstein was convicted, Ghislaine Maxwell got her helicopter pilot license. In fact, Epstein paid for it. Why now? I believe that those involved in the Epstein blackmail operation realized that they could no longer freely work out of Florida and New York. I assume the helicopter license was needed to discreetly fly people from the island of St. Thomas to the small neighboring island of Little St. James. Little St. James Island, or Epstein Island, is about 1.5 miles from the larger island of St. Thomas. St. Thomas's airport is about 10 miles from Epstein Island. St. Thomas also has a submarine base about 8 miles from Epstein Island, additionally providing natural protection for the bay where the submarine base is located in an island called Water Island. Water Island. Let's dive into some salient points from a 2020 piece from Politico. Quote, lobbyist bought tropical land from Biden's brother. Scott Green, a lobbyist with close ties to Joe Biden, purchased Virgin Islands property from James Biden and then extended him a private mortgage. In 2005, Joe Biden's brother bought an acre of land with excellent ocean views on a remote island in the Caribbean for $150,000. He divided it into 3 parcels, and the next year, a lobbyist close to the Delaware senator bought one of the parcels for what had been the cost of the entire property. Later, the lobbyist gave Biden's brother a mortgage loan on the remaining parcels. The Virgin Islands land deal, reported here for the first time, furthers a pattern in which members of the Biden family have engaged in financial dealings with people with an interest in influencing the former vice president. After the land deal, Joe Biden vacationed elsewhere on the tiny island, which once protected a nearby submarine base before it became a tropical getaway on at least 3 occasions. The property itself has remained vacant and undeveloped. It is not clear why the lobbyist Scott Green purchased the parcel from Biden's brother James, or why James Biden later went to the lobbyist for a loan rather than to a bank. An easement James Biden obtained granting road access to the land before selling it to Green may have made the land more valuable, but it is unclear whether the dramatically higher price Green paid for his parcel reflected its true value. The terms of the loan were not disclosed in property records. Green has led a parallel career in Washington. After working as a probation officer after college, Green accepted an offer from Biden in the early 1980s for a job on the Senate Judiciary Committee, where he worked for a decade in roles that included staff assistant and senior advisor. From the Senate, Green pivoted to the private sector. In 1994, he co-founded Lafayette Group, a lobbying and consulting firm focused on law enforcement and national security that is now headed by his son. Government contracts for niche support services for law enforcement and national security agencies have been central to the firm's business over the years, according to a firm history posted on its website. In the Senate, Biden, over the years, proposed appropriations for many of the niche areas in which the firm specialized, including interoperable communications for first responders and fusion centers for processing threat-related intelligence. From 2012 to 2018, according to Lafayette Group's firm history, it received contracts tied to at least one government program championed by Biden, the nationwide public safety broadband network. In total, Lafayette Group has received more than $10 million in contracts for work related to the network now called FirstNet, according to government data. After lobbying a client of Green's, the nonprofit Drug Abuse Resistance Education Program, DARE, had benefited from Biden's support over the course of more than 2 decades, both before and after Green's land purchase. Biden ensured its inclusion in the 1994 crime bill, making it eligible to compete for hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funds. In the years since the land deals, the U.S. Virgin Islands have been a favored destination for the Biden clan. In between election night 2008 and Barack Obama's inauguration, Biden and his family traveled to Water Island over the winter holidays. As vice president, he returned to the island over the next 2 holiday seasons. In the later years of the Obama administration, Biden and his family continued to vacation annually in the Virgin Islands, but on St. Croix. The Water Island landowner said the Bidens switched to the larger island because it was more practical for traveling with an entourage that included Secret Service agents. Over the holiday season, before launching his presidential campaign, Biden again traveled to St. Croix, where he was spotted on New Year's Day, 2019. End quote. I should point out that St. Croix is still only 40 miles from Epstein Island. It would take about 15 to 20 minutes to travel by helicopter. The previous article about the Bidens not only points out their possible corruption, but also their proclivity for vacationing near Epstein Island at a time Epstein's operation seemed to be in full swing. It also points out how connected Biden was with Clinton in pushing forward the 1994 crime bill and how his buddy just happened to start a business the same year, which would benefit greatly from the new crime bill. Buying property near Epstein Island and regularly vacationing in the area would make good cover for someone who wanted to discreetly visit Epstein Island, especially if you had a reputation for being a child-sniffing weirdo. Did the purchase of the property on Water Island have a dual purpose, money laundering and an excuse to be in the area so often? Flying down to vacation on an island you own property on would keep you off the Lolita Express flight logs, and even if you were on them, you could say you were bumming a ride to your property on Water Island, flying down on Air Force One or Air Force Two, while Vice President would have the same effect. Just ask Hunter Biden. Epstein bought Little St. James Island in 1998. In 2008, the main house on the island was renovated, while Epstein spent a year confined in a low-security prison cell each evening in Florida. During this time, Ghislaine Maxwell got her helicopter license in 2008. The Biden family started vacationing regularly in the immediate proximity of Epstein Island. Interesting, to say the least. With Epstein's guilty plea in 2008, there seemed to be a shift and need to take his blackmail operations offshore. It was no longer safe, or rather, he no longer had the protection to run the blackmailing operation as safely within the U.S. borders. We know Donald Trump worked with the prosecution team to convict Epstein the first time round in 2008, and Trump was POTUS the second time Epstein was arrested in 2019, as well as during the Ghislaine Maxwell arrest a year later. Pedophile blackmailing aside, if one is to live on a remote island a couple of miles away from the island of St. Thomas and 10 miles from the airport, it makes sense that a billionaire would have a helicopter and pilot to take him and his guests to his island. There isn't anything inherently nefarious about this, but why would Ghislaine need a submarine license as well? Using a submarine screams that something nefarious is going on. It makes one question whether or not the submarine was used to transport cargo, or more likely, passengers, in a way that they would not be detected. Satellites catch a lot, but I doubt they would catch a submarine entering a James Bond villain-like island lair through an underwater pathway. Okay, I admit it. I really liked Thunderball as a kid, but it is really strange how much Bond villains and the deep state players seem to match up, as though we were being shown for 60 years what's really going on. What am I saying here? Any speculation I'm making is just that, speculation. I have no proof that Joe Biden or any Biden ever set foot on an Epstein property. Maybe that will be released as more information about Epstein comes out. Still, Joe Biden has been branded everything from a child sniffer in the mainstream to having an inappropriate relationship with his own daughter, according to rumors stemming out of the Ashley Biden diary scandal. According to the Hunter laptop scandal, some allege that Hunter Biden had a strange relationship with his niece, not to mention an ongoing relationship with his dead brother's wife, or with the countless prostitutes he wrote off on his taxes. What is indisputable fact is that the Bidens owned property and vacationed regularly in close proximity to Epstein Island at a time when Epstein was regularly shuffling in elites to his pedo island a stone's throw away. A quick helicopter ride or a submarine trip is all that separated them. I realize that in today's society, 1 + 1 + 1 doesn't always equal 3, especially when math is accused of being racist and created by white, heterosexual Christian men who use it to keep everyone else down. But in this case, where there's smoke, there is probably fire. Earth is comprised of 197 million square miles, and the Biden family regularly vacationed less than 40 miles, many times less than 10 miles from Epstein Island. What are the odds? That is badlands.substack.com, the brilliant Erik Carlson. His Substack is also ERIKC, Erik C, ERIKC.substack.com. So go to Badlands and do a paid subscription if you can, or do a paid subscription at Erik's Substack. Fun times, seriously. All right. Don't forget to go get your Vanilla Angel paste. Supplies will not last. Especially, I don't know if they're going to be doing angel paste spot on tomorrow's Devolution Power Hour, but if they do, the angel paste vanilla will vanish like a fart in the wind. So go to angelpaste.com. This will be the last of the angel paste. I'm not doing any more. I didn't know it was going to disappear that quickly. Otherwise, I would have had more made initially. I had no idea that they'd vanish that fast. This is unscented. That's what I put on my face in general. The antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects of vanilla, look into that. It's the best, one of the best smells in the world. I personally have a few favorite scents, and vanilla is one of them. Another one of my favorite scents is rose. So we'll have to look into that, I suppose. But anyway, Angel Paste Miracle Cream. Go to angelpaste.com. Use promo code Shapiro to pry $1 from my grasping hands. If you get 3 or more bottles, you get free shipping. Also, check out Epic Threads TV for some of our merch. And we can ship internationally from there. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I am going to start packing. Because why not, right? Got to start packing for my show. I mean, for the GART 3. I hope to see a whole bunch of you there. All right, let us pray. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you tomorrow.
I will be the greatest president that God ever created.